Welcome to this first Climactic Community Update. This is where members of the Climactic Collective, but also the wider climate community, can send in messages or breaking news about something going on in Australia and the South Pacific. Today's message comes from Jo Dodds, on the scene in Canberra for two separate and greatly contrasting protests.
It's Jo Dodds here in Canberra on today, the 2nd of December, and I don't know if you can hear the honking going on behind me. It is the sound of, I'd say, a couple of hundred very large trucks that have come in to Canberra today to a big rally at Parliament House protesting about water allocation. And it's also a day that I've been protesting about climate destruction again at Parliament House, this time with gorgeous two people, Melinda and Dean, who lost their home in the Namboida fire last month. It's really disturbing to see this rally, though, after our quiet and solemn protest this morning. This rally is loud and noisy and diesel fumey, and these are desperate people too. These are farmers who are looking at losing their farms. And there are slogans all over the trucks about the water situation and the allocation of water. And a lot of the arguments are quite reasonable, and begging for the politicians to take notice and ditch the Murray-Darling Basin plan in its current form. But there's also slogans suggesting that South Australia's getting all the water and New South Wales getting none, and how is that fair? Which is a good question, but I'd hate to see states and farmers pitted against each other in this war, because it's not a competition between each other. It is a failure of government to manage our resources respectfully, to manage them equitably, and particularly to manage them sustainably. And to see the breadth of people here today, across the morning, trying to bring attention to what is essentially the same problem, the destruction of our environment. There is no doubt in my mind that the current drought has been made worse by climate change. It's what was predicted, hotter, drier conditions. And here they are. And the people I've been speaking to have never seen their properties so dry as they are at the moment, and it's only the beginning of December, so one can only imagine what it's going to be like throughout the summer if we don't get rain, and what will happen to these farmers and their livelihoods, their farms, if it doesn't rain and they can't afford to pay debts and buy stock feed and manage their stock, and they go out of business and those farms go up for sale, and who buys them? And who then owns the future of our food security? If indeed there is any future for farming in the conditions that now seem to be such a constant across the country, the fires, droughts, floods, storms. It's a very sobering day in Canberra, and I just hope that in the big white house under the hill, some ears have opened and some politicians are hearing the distress out here and starting to think about what they might do to change the situation, because I don't know what it's like in the big house today, but out here things are getting very urgent.
If you have a message of your own you'd like to send to us, you can always just record a voice memo on your phone and email it to hello@climactic.fm, or reach out via Facebook Messenger, where we're at Climactic Show. Thanks for listening. Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to Climactic, the flagship podcast of the Climactic Collective, a podcast network dedicated to lifting the voices of the climate community. You can find out more about the people behind Climactic and all the shows we produce at climactic.fm. We are a social enterprise podcast network, and we greatly appreciate your support. You can find a link to our Pozible where you can support us directly, in the show notes of this episode or from our website. Thank you for listening, and from the whole Climactic Collective, keep up the great work and take care of each other in these climactic times.
The Climactic Collective.